Welcome to Real Battles, Real People. I'm your host, Christian Betancourt, and I have Michael Bugary here. How you doing, sir?
Good, doing well. Thank you for having me. Grateful to be here.
So please walk with us, your journey.
Yeah. I was a Division One and professional baseball player. I played at the University of California, Berkeley, and with the Boston Red Sox organization. I suffered an arm injury pretty early into my professional career that basically I couldn't recover from, and I didn't know how to deal with that at the time. So I turned to opiates and other substances to cope with my new reality. And as my addiction progressed, I was diagnosed with a medulloblastoma brain tumor, slightly smaller than a tennis ball in my cerebellum, the part of your brain that controls, how you move and voluntary movement, amongst other things. And then having to deal with that new reality, and I struggled for a while with it, but I learned to, find some peace and meaning in it.
Yeah. So can you take us back when you got that call, to play for the Boston Red Sox? What did that mean to you?
Yeah, I went through some ups and downs to get there. Baseball was my identity. I felt like it was almost my destiny in a sense that I was meant to do it. And I think at the time, of course I was excited to get that call, but I had gone through some things where I felt that I got slighted a little bit and I didn't get selected where I wanted to. So I had this mixed feeling of excitement, and then also a little bit of disappointment, like I had something to prove again.
What was the hardest part, you going through that injury?
Yeah, uh, I think it was the loss of my self-worth, right? So I had invested so much into my athletic identity that it was who I was, and my self-esteem was based on my performance, and I think I had this mindset where like I, I didn't care about a life after sports. I didn't care about a life without baseball. Baseball was everything to me. It was like my higher power. It was my first addiction, really, because it was the source for me getting the things that I wanted. And when I was told, at 23 years old that I'll never be able to play the same way that I once did again, I didn't know how to hear that. And everybody in my life knew me as a baseball player, and all the people around me were involved in baseball. And then when I don't have it anymore, I just felt so alone and abandoned. And the hardest part was for me, which took me through all the other hard things, was learning to find out who I am again, because I had no idea once I lost that.
Did that affect you in a bad way?
Yeah, yeah, not the arm injury, not so much. I mean, it didn't affect me physically, more so mentally. And when I turned to opiates and other painkillers, it wasn't to deal with my physical pain. It was more to deal with my mental pain, right? So the way that it was one of those things too, where baseball was like the progression of addiction, that once I start using a higher substance, I can't go back to the other one. For me, baseball was, once I got to that level, I couldn't enjoy it anymore. I couldn't go back and play for fun. I couldn't. So it affected me in that sense, where it completely took away the game for me. I didn't get any enjoyment out of it anymore.
Yeah. What was a specific moment when you realized that you were sliding into addiction?
Uh, I think um, when I started when I use the medication a little bit differently, when I started to especially with drugs like oxycontin, and I started to learn how to smoke them, or do things in a different way. I think that's when I really learned that this is not something recreational that you can control. This is something that you're falling down a path that it's going to be hard to get out of. And I think a part of me recognized that, but also a part of me didn't care, right? I didn't care because I lost my sense of purpose and everything. So it didn't matter to me. I never got into a place where I wanted to like end my own life. I understand that suicidal ideation is important and it's a real thing, but I got to a point where I didn't care if I lived or died, because I just felt like I lost everything.
Yeah. Now going back to what you were discussing about your brain cancer, what was
Yeah,
the name of it again?
medulloblastoma.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your initial reaction when you first discovered you had a brain tumor?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I mean, how do you think you understand? It's like how do you hear that news? I think that I was kind of numb to it. I was at that point in my life where I started to get some things back in a job and a girlfriend and all these other things, but I was still hollow because I still had uh, this battle going on me with baseball. Like I just believed I could still play. I just wasn't willing to accept a life without it. And when I got that news, I started experiencing these headaches, and I got that news. I remember having the doctor go over all these percentages and stuff with me, and speaking all this like doctor talk and right and all the different chances I have to live and all the treatments, and my mom was there with me, and I don't remember ever thinking like, hey, what's my mom be going through? When I got that diagnosis, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get through this because at least I'm gonna get some good drugs now in the hospital, right? So that was my mindset, is that hey, I can get through this. I'm gonna get something to help me with it, and I was indifferent pretty much. I There was never a part of me that thought it was going to kill me. I knew it was serious, and I knew uh, that I could die. That was a possibility, but I believe that internally that I was going to get through it, and I think that's something that baseball and sports gave me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was like you said, numb. You feel
Yeah,
that numbness when you find out you're fighting cancer,
yeah,
and it's for me, it was like the numbness and just the sprinklers turning on,
yeah,
and I was just crying, 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 and I didn't
yeah,
know what to do. I
yeah,
had no idea what to do.
yeah.
You know, I did at the VA. I was in VA Manhattan and in Brooklyn,
Okay.
and uh, you know, chemotherapy and radiation, where they put that mask on you.
Oh yeah, I know that mask real well. I wish I would have kept mine. Right after I was done. I threw mine away, but I wish I would have kept mine as a souvenir. Now because it'd be a great prop now. But yeah, no, I hate that mask. And they had to special build it for your head and stuff. And I,
Yeah.
I haven't met anybody that I can talk to before that can relate to that mask. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, yeah, man, that was miserable. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Did they ever give you steroids?
In terms of just for recovery,
No,
no.
Doreen.
Oh no, no,
No, they gave
no.
me steroids, so I was getting larger. My
Oh
face was
yeah, oh
getting,
yeah, yeah, yeah. They did. I'm sorry, they did to reduce the swelling. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh
It
yeah,
reduces the swelling of the tumor, so it doesn't, you know,
yeah.
uh, when it would if the tumor was to touch the brain, then it would my right hand was getting weaker.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yes, I don't know where was yours at in your brain?
It was in the this side of the brain in the middle.
Oh, so okay, in the middle on the front. See, mine was in the back, which I got really lucky about because they had an easy extraction to get in and out of it, which was fortunate. I think the worst thing that happened, that I mean, the chemotherapy and the radiation was bad, right? You know that it was miserable. But in the hospital, the surgeries were okay, but I had to do this. I forget exactly the name of it, where they had to get that circular saw, to drill the top of my head open, so like the spinal tap wouldn't, the spinal fluid wouldn't pool up. It had to drip down behind the back. There's a
Wow.
name for it, I forget. But yeah, I had to be awake for that, So I'm sitting there like clenching my
Oh,
teeth while
wait.
it's like, that stunk. But yeah, I think like you said, like the numbness to it. What can you do? Especially like you somebody in the military that masculine and all. You feel helpless, right? You feel it was that shred of invincibility that took from me, that it was humbling.
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't so masculine. I was slim.
Yeah,
They used to call me slim in the military.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I turned into slim after all that chemotherapy and radiation. That's for sure. I lost a bunch of weight and stuff.
Mhm. I
Yeah,
was the opposite.
really?
I gained 37 pounds in 2 weeks.
Wow,
I looked like I was 9 months pregnant. My face was like this.
really?
Nobody recognized me.
Were,
Nobody.
really? Were you able to eat and stuff when you were on the treatment and things?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
was able to eat. Uh, but it was my best friend was my toilet because I was always throwing up during chemo.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Yeah.
And I was doing fundraisers too. I was doing fundraisers for kids with cancer. So there was one point where I was, I don't know why I got it was a pill, a chemo pill.
Okay.
So I took the chemo pill right before I did the fundraiser. I don't know why I did it.
Yeah.
And I started throwing up like 10 times in that event. And I
Uh,
was still available to host it,
uh,
you know. And then I told my best bud, I was like, take me to the ER. And it was
uh.
right there. It was like 10 minutes away.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
that's what I was saying about masculine. Yeah, I mean, being tough. Like that's a tough thing to do. And
All right.
yeah, yeah. And in a sense too, I always find it amazing that people that are going through it, that are in the moment of it, they're still willing to do other things to help other people and to do those things. You know, I was so uh, invested in myself, right? I wallowed in self pity and just and sheltered in. You know, I had so much pride and ego that I didn't want anybody to see me like that. You know, I would, you know, when I was going out of the treatments, I'd have a hat, I'd duck down low. And even after a couple of years, I was just, I was ashamed. I was ashamed of it, you know, and, you know, that was the hard part for me. I think I was pretty stoic in the way that I didn't, you know, I didn't cry too much or do anything like that. But internally, I was a wreck. Internally, I was having all these things, and I was trying to, yeah, I don't know. It was, yeah, it was tough.
Yeah. So with the alcohol, did you ever get any type of treatment or any type of re therapy?
Yes, yeah, too much therapy. I know at this point I've probably done more therapy than I have practiced baseball, you know. So so yeah, I'm well versed in all the therapy. You know, yeah, so when my addiction progressed eventually to heroin, you know, I was living these dual lives where I was working with kids doing lessons, or I was out in baseball trying to keep into the game, and just you know, putting on these masks, hiding who I really was, and inside I was, you know, using or just isolating. And then when I progressed into to harder drugs, there was no capacity anymore to keep up those dual lives and that appearances. And so that's when people around me started to take notice, really, and they helped me get an intervention to go into a treatment. So technically I've been in treatment 3 times. The first one I went to was an in-month 10 patient one in Phoenix, Arizona. And right after that is when I had my brain cancer. And then when I went back a couple years into my recovery, I went to an outpatient one in California. And then 4 years ago, when I moved to Ohio, I went to a treatment center to get off all the medications that I was on. So that was the last time that I've been in. Thank, knock on wood. Hopefully, I'm four and almost a 4 and almost a half year sober right now. So off
Awesome.
all medications and everything.
And you mentioned before that you were 10 years cancer free?
Yes, I yeah. On the 15th of August, 10 years cancer free. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, I don't know what to. I'm just glad I don't have to do those MRIs anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's just I used to get, I don't know if you felt this way at some point, but like especially early on, you know, I had a lot of anger about it, you know, inside. And I used to, like, when I used to work at places and things, and people would talk about, you know, they're just joking around with each other, talking about how they had a knee MRI and how miserable it was. And I'd always be like, listen, you don't know anything about an MRI. You know what I mean? 'Cause having to be in there with your head and strapped into it for an hour, you know, and but you know, I'm grateful for all that experience that I went through, but I'm glad to not have to be poked and prodded anymore, you know.
Yeah. What would you say was your mental capacity to be able to go through this experience and move forward?
Not well at first. Right, I think like a lot of challenges is in my life. I turn to solutions like drugs and alcohol or substances, and I try to do things my way. And you know, after my chemotherapy and radiation, you know, after right after I learned that I was in remission, right, just 2 weeks after, my mom, she finds me passed out in my car with drug paraphernalia on my lap, right, because you know, they during that time, right, when I was just coming out of recovery and coming out of treatment, you know, and so they told the doctors that I was an opiate addict, right? So they didn't really give me anything. Though they limited to what I was getting, and rightfully so, you know, because but and I'm not mad about that, but the point is that I felt at the time I was mad. I felt like, I needed something. I'm in too much physical pain now, and so that's when I went out to get it. And so it took me a few years to start to really. I had to get to a even further and lower point to finally find a way to make a change. And there was spiritual experiences through God and some other things that helped me get through it. The introduction of my therapy dog, who was in the army himself. He was an E4 specialist, and him being put into my life, he was like the first good thing to happen to me. And he helped me to, because in order to keep him, I had to change, and he helped me, work on myself and do some things. So yes, I've been able to now manage it better and see, those things that happened to me as a gift, and not as, as bad things, because I've learned from those things. But initially, no, I was did a very poor job of going through them.
I continued doing, fundraisers.
Yeah,
I felt like it was a thing that it was meant to be.
yeah,
When it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And sometimes God uses us as vessels to help others,
yeah,
just like yourself, that you recently wrote a book, right?
yeah, yeah. So
What's it called?
it's called The Disease of Me. It's how losing my professional baseball career, drug addiction, and brain cancer saved my life. So I've written it, and I thought, that was going to be that easy just to write it and, get it published, but it turns out it's a little harder than that. So I'm working on getting it edited, and it should be out by the first couple of months of next year. That's the plan. But yeah, but I want to go back. I think you said something really important there. When you're doing the fundraisers and things, and finding that purpose and your suffering, the things that you went through. I always find that amazing to somebody that can find that so early on, right? And I think that's why I call it the disease of me, because I was always just so concerned about me and myself and my situation, and poor why me, and not looking outwards. And going back to my dog, when I was able to officially adopt him, I promised that I would help others in the way that he helped me. And we're a big part of the Children's Hospital and the Cancer Center in Cleveland, at Rainbow Babies and University Hospitals. And we're part of the Pet Pals, and we regularly go visit the kids, because the type of tumor that I had was really rare in adults, but it was common in children. And so I thought, what better way? I thought about the hell that I went through, but thinking, and I'm sure you do something similar as you think about the innocent children going through that. It's hard, it's hard to grasp that.
You're
And I
like
thought,
little
well,
warriors.
yeah, yeah, right. And so I thought, what better way than I could bring my dog to hopefully give them a little bit of joy, and then seeing how much it helped, and how much it helped me, and like you said, like I said, Lingo was born on the same month as my tumor was removed. He just turned 10 as well. So, how is that not a God thing, right? There's so many moments like that. And he's taught me so much in helping other people. And now one of the things that I love that I do is I go into the cancer centers and to the adults, and sit down and we talk, just like talking. And this is like, they can see you and how you recovered, and the things that you've went through. It gives them hope, right? It gives
Yeah.
them hope, and that there's a possibility that not only that it can thrive afterwards. And so, yes, I found that too, where I found some purpose and meaning in that suffering to help other people, because in the end, what it really does, helping other people helps me, right? It really does. And so, yeah, kudos to you for that. I think that's awesome that you continue to do that. It's important stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I continue doing that, especially this is my first time I do a podcast.
Yeah.
I started back on the day before I turned 12 years cancer free.
Okay, wow.
So June 18th, I posted it and I just ran with it.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, at first I was doing life coaching, and then I had to coach myself to start this podcast. And it's called Real Battles, Real People. People
yeah,
talking about the stuff they went through, how
yeah.
they beat it, how they came back, and what they're doing now.
That's awesome. So do you find and this that now that you've gotten through this and have some time to find some purpose in helping others, do you find like an inspiration to try new things like this and to put yourself out there and to take risks?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's awesome.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Me too. And there's when I was writing my book, I came across something, and I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called post-traumatic growth, right? And so it's not the opposite of post-traumatic stress, but there's like a small percentage of people that when they go through a really hard time, they find purpose and meaning and new appreciation in life, and they find like that suffering was actually good for them. And it was actually the suffering, not the traumatic event, that's what gave them meaning. And
Mhm.
I feel that so much, and it's also they have an inspiration to help others through their story and share those things, and I really feel that way. And I didn't feel that right away, but something just clicked for me
Yeah,
at some point, and I really, it's almost like you said, almost feel obligated, right, to do that, to share my story, that that's what do I do with the second chance that I've been given, right?
yeah. So, what would be advice that you would give to someone who feels like they lost their identity, whether through injury, illness, addiction?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I can say is that your self-worth has to come from within, right? Like I was so caught up in getting how I feel, and by people around me, what strangers think of me, or what this. It's really about what you think of yourself, and about how the close people think about you, and by doing that is that you have to face the hard things, right? Right. Addiction for me was a way for me to avoid facing the hard times in my life. And so, but when I show up and I try my best, even if I fail, or if I don't do as well as I thought I was going to do, I still show up and I still did it, and it shows me who I am. And I learned a little bit more about myself, and I learned that I can get comfortable in the flawed human being that I am. And I think that once that happens, and I show up and do those things, that then my self worth starts to come from within here, and so I don't have to seek it anywhere else.
Okay. Where can people follow you for on your journey and your book?
Yeah, so I have a website called michaelbugary.com, MICHAELBUGARY. Then I have Instagram, it's at mbugary, and I'm on Facebook, Michael Bugary too. And so I post all kinds of different things. You can see all my other dogs and other stuff that I have going on in my life. So I'm trying to I have a nice property I inherited out here in Ohio, and I'm trying to hopefully make it a dog sanctuary, or something like along those lines. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff on there. And if you ever want to reach out just to have a conversation about cancer, about sports or addiction, I've been through all of them, like the triple crown of adversity, I call it, right? It's the only award I ever won. So
Well, you'll definitely get more awards after this.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, that's not the biggest reward that I can get, right? Is that human connection and helping other people,
Yeah,
and that's the other advice I would give, just briefly, is that if you're feeling down inside, go out and help somebody else. It'll just change the way you view the world and your perspective if you just help somebody else without any expectations of something in return.
yeah. Pass on the kindness and understanding and showing that empathy and
Yeah,
compassion to other
yeah.
people. You never know who you bump into is having a hard time.
Yep. Yeah. And it makes you realize too how similar you really are. Because it doesn't matter how we look, what our politics are, our religion. There's so many things that unite us. And when you get close and bring that in, have that human connection, you really see that. And like I said, it just changes the way that you think. And for me, it helps me not view the world from my perspective, but it helps me view the world outwardly.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of guests that I had in the past, we were so aligned in a way that I was like the dates and the purpose and the illness that we had and the addiction that we had, and it was just like this thing. It was just like we're aligned in somehow, some way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that energy. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
energy.
The energy. Yeah. And you can only get that in person by you know what I mean, by feeling that. And as great as all this technology and stuff that we are, I think a lot of it is focused on, it's surrounded by me, right? I'm gonna post videos of me. But when you're out there in the world in connection, it's about us. And I think that is the most important thing. But that's what we're made for. That's in our DNA, is to be social creatures, around
Mm,
others.
yeah, I grew up in the 80s, so
Yeah.
there's no such thing as
Yeah,
phones.
yeah, yeah, right. I know. It's hard to believe that a lot of these kids nowadays don't understand there was a world where we had a phone on a cord that we had to use, right? And beepers, or
Yeah.
pagers or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So as we close out, what's a message you want the listeners to walk away with your story?
Yeah, I think that what I just said, maybe I did it a little bit too early, but I think the power of helping other people. Once I started to really give back in my time and and share my story with others and see that the way that I interacted with them, and it helped me so much. It helped me get outside myself, and it helped me find out who I am. I think once it, and like you said, like trying new things like the podcast or whatever it may be, it's what always held me back from doing those things was the fear of failure, right? Right, the fear that I wasn't going to be good at it. But what I've learned is that my failures have taught me the most, right? All my failures I've gained the most from. So if the worst thing that's going to happen to me is that I'm going to fail and learn something, then why shouldn't I try it? Right? I think putting ourselves out there, being vulnerable and taking risks, I think is the most important thing that I can say. And as I continue to try to do this, being authentic and being myself, I think is the most important thing to me.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being on my show. It's an honor to have you here. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your story.
Thank you, Christian. I'm grateful to be here, and thank you again for your service, man. I appreciate you and all you've
Thank
gone
you.
through. Yeah.
This is Real Battles, Real People. Take care, everybody.